I hope everyone's having a good Friday. And good weather.
Yeah.
Good. So much rain.
Hi, Johnny. Can we start now? I
Sure,
think more people will join later. Yeah.
no problem. And I see that we're on YouTube as well, so that's great. So
Yeah.
thanks everybody
Yeah.
for joining us today. I'm Deborah Jennings, and I'm with HouseMaste Home Inspections of Northern California. I'm going to share my presentation and stop sharing myself if I can. Perhaps. There we go. Much better. Okay, so today we're going to talk about home inspections in general and also HouseMaste advantages that we have that maybe the competitors don't have, or just let you know a little bit more about how we do things at HouseMaste. So as I said, we're HouseMaste serving Northern California. It's a little bit of a misnomer because we actually serve the Bay Area and up to Sacramento and down into Hollister, which I consider kind of mid-California, but that's the name that we inherited when I took over in 1999 from the former owner. He had run this office for 20 some years. So he was very experienced, and all of the inspectors that we currently have were with him for not all those years, but some of them for many, many years. So I took over at the tail end of 2019, just right before COVID hit everybody the next year. So that was an interesting first year, but we made it through. We have 6 inspectors, 2 full-time and 4 part-time. And I have an office manager, Valerie, who some of you may have spoken with, who is indispensable. I hope everybody can hear me, by the way. We do have all the traditional things that a business should have: liability, errors and omissions insurance. We also have a professional referral liability for agents that gives you an additional layer of protection if you recommend us to a client for a home inspection and something goes horribly wrong, which hopefully it wouldn't. Then we have that additional professional liability coverage that covers you as well. That's not something that I think that's something not a lot of home inspection companies have. So for the past 2 years, we have received the HouseMaste President's Club and Top Gun awards from HouseMaste. Our parent company is Neighborly. This basically just lets us know that we're on the right track. We're doing things right according to the HouseMaste way, and that we have a good system going, good revenues and all of that. So we're proud of that. People tell me I need to talk about it more, but to me, it's all about our team. Even though this has my name on it, our team does the work every day. So it's really for them as well. As I mentioned, we serve kind of that middle Bay Area, Sacramento area, down into Hollister and the San Benito County area. Here's some of the towns that we serve and the counties. We have a full list on our website that I can provide a link to that has all of our counties. So it's easier to search, or you can always just give us a call and we'll let you know if we service a certain area. So HouseMaste is actually a home franchise company. They started in 1971. I believe that they started franchising a few years later, 1978, I believe. We now have, I think it's probably closer to 400 locations throughout the United States and Canada. And We were recently acquired about 2 years ago by Neighborly Home Services brand, which has some other brands that you may have heard of. I don't know how many of these are in your area, but they have more than 20 brands now, I believe, including all the ones shown here, as well as HouseMaster. So it's neat to be part of a bigger organization that we can really work together with some of these other brands to kind of boost each other. We just in November all went to Nashville and had the annual conference there, and that was amazing. We were in a huge place, and it was amazing to see so many people there with Neighborly. So a lot of fun from that point of view. So our inspectors are trained and certified by NIBI. That's the National Institute of Building Inspectors. It was actually founded by HouseMaster and is now still one of the premier home inspection training and certification companies in the country. We do require annual recertification, which our inspectors are actually doing right now. They do have online training available, a lot of support also from the other HouseMaster inspectors throughout the country. And the trainers at corporate are very good, very experienced. And we have an annual conference as well as regional conferences. So the important stuff for you all to know, and I know that we do have some agents in your office who have used us and have used us frequently, which we do appreciate. Basically, the way it works pre-inspection is you call us, or we get calls from clients as well, but most of our calls come from agents like yourself. We have the 800 number there, which is the same as it has been before. You can also email Valerie Andrade or myself, Deborah Jennings. We also have a form on the website that can get the process started. It basically asks your information and the zip code. I wish it was a little bit more detailed, but that'll get the process started and we'll get in touch with you right away. We're also available on other websites such as Yelp and Thumbtack and Angie's List. Once we have everything confirmed with you and we have all the information we need to schedule, we will send email confirmations to you as well as to your client. Those will include links to pay online, which a lot of people really appreciate being able to do that with a credit card or a debit card. There's no additional fee for that. We incur all the fees. And there's also a link to our inspection agreement, which is important for the client to sign and also for them to review so that they know what to expect and you know, gives them a little bit more idea of what a home inspection does and what we don't do. Also, we'll give you some idea of how to prepare for an inspection, especially if you're a seller, how to get your home ready so that we can do the best inspection, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. And then the day before, we send email and text reminders as well, just so everybody's hopefully staying on the same page as far as when that inspection is occurring. I hope that you're all there. If you have any questions, I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, certainly feel free to interrupt me. I will pause for questions also throughout the presentation. So typically, if you are or not familiar with a home inspection, so on inspection day, here are the major areas that the inspector will look at. They will typically start with the outside of the property. They're going to be looking at the roof, looking at the foundation, the exterior elements of the property, which could include you know, concrete surfaces, patios, driveways. If there's a pool and you have requested a pool inspection, we will inspect that as well, pool or spa. We also do a standard safety inspection for those elements that is required by the state of California. And that is a little bit less invasive. It just has to do with the safety components that are present for the pool or the spa. And that's included as part of our standard inspection. Excuse me. We'll look at the garage as well, if it's attached. If there are any outbuildings or other additional ADUs or anything like that on the property, and you want those inspected, you just need to let us know at the time that you book it. And there is typically an additional fee for those, but it's usually fairly minor. Once we get inside the home, we're going to probably start at the attic, which will also be the underside of the roof, as you know, and then the top side of the top floor. Looking at the ventilation and insulation and looking for leaks and things like that. We're going to work our way through the interior of the home, and that includes all your major elements of a home: windows, walls, doors, floors, ceilings. as well as the major systems. You've got your cooling, your heating system, your plumbing, your electrical, and then also your hot water supply, your hot water heater. We'll look at the crawl space if there is one, or in the basement. And more so now than during COVID, we do actually have gone back to recommending that if buyers or sellers or agents want to be there and answer questions, ask questions, we do encourage that. We do ask that you try to hold your questions for the end of the inspection, just so that the inspector doesn't get distracted while they're looking at something. But you can also reach the inspector after the inspection. A lot of times they may not give you a full results because they want to make sure that they cover everything, they put it in writing, they put it in the report. So they'll typically answer general questions, but they still want you to review that report very carefully, and your clients. So we do have an online report that is accessed via the HouseMaste cloud, and can also be printed into a PDF and can be shared easily from the cloud with other people. Typically, our reports are done in 24 to 48 hours. If you're in the Bay Area, we have our most experienced inspectors there, and the Hollister area. So you're going to see usually a less than 24-hour turnaround. Very often it's the same night, which is awesome. Our less experienced inspectors in the Sacramento area that go down into the San Joaquin Valley, they take a little bit longer. They're just a little bit less familiar with the software. But I do think that their reports are actually pretty thorough, and they include a lot of pictures. So it's worth it to wait a little bit longer for those reports as well. Once the report is uploaded to the HouseMaste cloud, you'll receive an email from that system to log in and access the report, and that will also go to your client. If the report is not paid for yet, or the inspection agreement is not signed, the report will be locked until those things are taken care of. However, obviously, if it's something that's being paid through escrow, we'll unlock the report. A lot of times we have someone give the inspector a check, and they sometimes don't tell the office right away. So if that's the case, we'll definitely unlock that report. The inspector, like I said, if you have questions, you can call the office. We'll put you in touch with the inspector, or we'll try to field those questions ourselves if we can. Usually that would be me. I do have home inspection training. I'm just not a certified inspector. And we can do re-inspections. If there's a lot of things that were fixed, especially on a seller inspection, you want us to come back out and update the report, we can do that. There is typically a fee associated with that. We can also come back, like say that something wasn't accessible during the inspection, we could come back out, and depending on whether that was kind of on us or on let's say the seller again, there may or may not be like a trip fee, a small fee associated with that. And we can also do walkthroughs. So in a lot of cases, I know in the Bay Area, we're having the sellers do the pre-listing inspection instead of the buyers. And the buyers a lot of time like to just refer to that report and not get their own. We actually don't recommend that because, buyers should get their own report anyway, whether it's from us or someone else. And if they do not want to do that, though, and they want to rely on the seller report, we can do a walkthrough with them, and we can officially transfer that seller report to them, so that if any issues come up down the road with that report, something that we didn't find that we should have found, then they can come back to us and say, hey, whereas if they don't get that report transferred and it's not the seller coming back to us, a lot of times they'll be like, well, we didn't do the report for you. So, they kind of get stuck. So we do recommend a walkthrough, or at least a transfer on paper of that report. Also, after the inspection, we will have follow-up emails making sure that you have received the report, the client has received the report. I usually follow up with agents that haven't used us before, make sure that just let them know, here's my contact information. If you have any questions, I'll follow up and ask clients for reviews a lot of times via email. And we are also available on all of these websites for reviews, which we really do appreciate, or even just a quick rating if we did a good service for you. And the system also sends out to, I think, 1 in 3 customers a review request. So sometimes we see those come back as well. Have any questions so far about HouseMaste? Okay. So I'll talk a little bit more about home inspections in general. This should be true for any home inspection company that is doing the right thing. Basically, the primary reason we would do a home inspection is to inspect for visible and readily accessible house elements. We're going to assess the physical condition, the performance, and safety issues. So to point out the key parts of that, we can only inspect things that are visible and readily accessible. We can't see into walls. We can't get into spaces that are locked or not accessible. We're going to be looking at the physical condition. How old is this unit? Should you anticipate the need for replacement soon based on the age or the condition of the system, the roof, for example, or the HVAC system? Does it work the way it's supposed to when we tested? And also safety issues. Are the windows safety glass? Are there tripping hazards? Are there, dangling wires in the attic, that sort of thing? So the result of this inspection that looks for those things is supposed to be an unbiased professional opinion on the current condition of the elements that we inspected and recommending further evaluation when needed. So typically that's how a report would read. If there's something that is needs either repair or further evaluation, we are typically going to recommend that on the report because we want to let the person know, hey, we're not roofing experts, not electricians, we're not plumbers. We see something kind of wonky with this element here, and we're going to describe it to the best of our ability, but you need to have an expert look at it. And I think that's something a lot of time that people don't really understand about home inspections or home inspectors, that we are generalists. We are not experts in all these areas, and we also do not do repairs. So we can't typically recommend who you go to get that further evaluation or who you go to get repairs. In fact, that's a little bit frowned on in the community because they don't want inspectors getting kickbacks from certain other, professionals. So for a buyer, we're obviously going to help them make an informed decision on whether or not, not really whether or not they should buy this house, but more, if I buy this house, what potential issues or current issues could I be looking at? And sometimes they'll go back and ask the sellers to negotiate, fix things, or negotiate the price down if there's a lot of things. It obviously, as we know, in the last year, that was not happening very much because it was a seller's market and buyers a lot of time waived the home inspection. So that was good for sellers, not necessarily good for buyers. We do offer post closing inspections. So if you do have a buyer who had to waive the inspection or just chose to, and then later on, and there's not even a time limit on it, you just say, hey, I really want to know what's going on with this house. Definitely give us a call. We're going to do the same thorough inspection we would have done before they bought it or that we would have done for the seller. And like I said, there's no time limit on that. It's just the point is to let you know more about the house that you're living in or that you purchased. For sellers, obviously, they may want to make sure there's no surprises when they go through negotiation. They may want to kind of make sure that the house is in tip-top shape before they put it on the market. So again, in the Bay Area, we do see a lot of people doing these seller or pre-listing inspections. As far as a home inspection in general, this is kind of debunking some of the myths about home inspections. It's not really pass-fail. We definitely try to avoid the phrase, this house failed the home inspection, because it's not a test. It's it's not this is a good house and that's a bad house. It's here's the current condition of this house, and things that either need to be looked at now and addressed now, or things that you may need to save up for in the future if there's something wrong. But it also tells you things that are right with the house. Brand new water heater, brand new roof. A lot of things that you're going to put on the listing advertisement, but you have an independent person that's not the seller and not the agent saying, hey, yeah, this is a brand new roof, looks good. That gives home buyers a lot of reassurance. It's not a to-do list for the home seller, although some buyers treat it that way, but that's where you all come in and you help negotiate if there are any things that the seller can do to make that property more attractive for the buyer. But we certainly don't expect a buyer to just hand over that report and say, fix it. It's not technically exhaustive. And I think a lot of times people misunderstand that. The inspection agreement, which nobody likes to read, agreements like that. But also the report itself has a lot of caveats of what we do not look for. So that is important to be familiar with as an agent. Kind of review that, read that one time, you'll have it down, and encourage your clients to review that as well. It's not code compliance. There would be no way for us to, especially in our case, all the areas that we do inspections in, to know the local codes or even the state codes. So it's not code compliance inspection. So if we ever say something on a report, this is not to code, that's our bad because we're not inspecting for code. It's not engineering analysis. So if you have any concerns about the foundation specifically, the house looks kind of crooked or the floors are sloping, you're probably going to need a specialist to take a look at that. Same thing with the soils. Energy survey. It is not an energy survey or audit, although I've often thought about adding that as an add-on, and I'm still looking into that because I think that would be very helpful. And there are programs that will train you what to look for and separate reports that we can generate for clients. It's not an appraisal or marketability. Marketability obviously is probably in your realm, and an appraisal would be an appraiser. But again, if people are new to home buying and selling, they may not understand the difference. And it's not, in our case, a pest inspection. So a lot of HouseMasters do termite or pest inspections. Unfortunately, we are not certified to do that. It's a big, long list of certifications and licensing in California in order to be able to do that. And you have to have people who have worked with actual mitigation before and with the chemicals and that sort of thing, even if you're just doing the inspection for evidence of termites. So I wish we could do those. What we do instead is we have companies that do those that we work with and we trust. And if you need that at the time you schedule your home inspection, we will also try to schedule that termite inspection for you if it's helpful. And ideally, we can get those on the same day, around the same time. Doesn't always work out that way, but that's what we try for. And then you get that report directly from the termite inspector company, the pest company, and you pay them directly. So all we do is really negotiate, help you schedule, and then the rest of that comes from them directly. And again, there's no fee for that, and we also don't get paid from the termite inspection companies for doing that. We just know which ones that clients have liked and agents have liked in the past, and those are the ones we work with. Pause for a moment. So I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here. You all know pre-listing inspections, and you know why sellers should do them. So another part of it is transparency. It's just that here's, we've had somebody, third party, non-biased, take a look at our home, and it just goes along with the disclosures and the supplemental information that you all provide to sell the home. Again, benefits of the pre-listing inspection. Any questions so far? Comments? Okay. So we've talked about this a little bit, what we inspect. Again, we're looking at the roofing. We're looking there for leaks, potential leaks. We're looking for how it was installed, any damage, particular of interest in the roof, which a lot of people don't think about, is any what they call penetrations, or areas where the roof had to be cut to insert a pipe or a chimney, a skylight, that sort of thing, because usually that's where you will have the leaks. We're also looking at the drainage coming off the roof and how that gets diverted away from the house, if it gets diverted away from the house, and that sort of thing. Exterior elements, again, would be the drainage around the home. Is the ground sloping towards the home, which 99% of the time it is, but that's something that it should not do, but most homes do that, so we'll call that out. You don't obviously want water or anything like that draining towards the foundation of the house. Again, with the driveways and all that sort of thing, the garage. A garage is one area where oftentimes we can't see a lot of the walls and the floor because most of us use garages for storage, or you may have not taken your vehicles out. But that is something we look at. We also look at the operation of the garage door. Does it operate correctly? And does it stop when it's supposed to, the emergency stop and all that, as well as any electricity or wiring in the garage. Foundation and substructure. We do go into the crawl space. We do look at the foundation there. We do look for water intrusion, insulation, that sort of thing. Obviously, again, we're not foundation experts, but we're going to be able to tell you, hey, you need to have somebody come take a look at this if there's something that looks a little bit out of place, or old or worn or broken or anything like that. As well as if there's no crawl space, we're going to be looking at the outside of the foundation, looking for cracks. Not all cracks are bad cracks, believe it or not, but some of them are cause for having somebody check that out to make sure everything's okay. Inside, we're going to be looking at the kitchens. If there's only one. We do inspect the installed appliances. So that would be your stove, if there's an installed microwave and dishwasher and drawing a blank, the garbage disposal. We typically don't inspect refrigerators, laundry, washers or dryers, things like that. If you would like to have us inspect those, we can as well. We're going to be looking at your heating and cooling system. Sometimes those are together, sometimes they're separate. Inside and outside, checking for operation and all of that, checking for the age of the system. We're going to be looking at the electrical. That would be, again, the wiring, going into the box outside, as well as inside the representative sample of devices, light switches and that sort of thing. Looking at the plumbing. This is an area where, unfortunately, there's a lot of times we can't see exactly what's going on because most plumbing, as with the electrical, is buried in the walls. But we're obviously going to be checking how the plumbing fixtures work in the kitchens, the bathrooms, that sort of thing, looking for any tell signs of leaks all over the house, any place where a pipe might be passing through. And also, if there are any plumbing pipes we can inspect outside or underneath the home, we'll be looking at those as well. The garage, as we talked about, the attic. Here's a good example of inspecting an attic. He's right now looking at the chimney that's coming down through. There's actually a lot to attics because you're looking at both the trusses, the way the roof is framed. If there's a chimney, obviously you're looking at that, or any other piping coming in through there. You're looking at insulation and the level of insulation. You're looking for any leaks or potential leaks, or signs of leakage before. You're looking for ventilation to the outside. So attics are actually probably one of the most complex areas of the home to inspect. Inside the home, we're going to look at all the bathrooms. We're going to check for water flow and that sort of thing, water temperature. I personally have a home where the faucets are the opposite, the hot and cold are opposite. So if I was to do an inspection on this home, I would call that out because, you turn the faucet a certain way, you expect cold water versus hot water, and it's the opposite, and that's actually not uncommon. Obviously, we're going to be looking for leaks and that sort of thing there, as well as another one I never thought of until I had this training was the toilet. A lot of time the toilet is not attached to the floor as well as it should be, and that can also be an area where you can get leaks if that's the case. I mentioned some of these before. The pool and spa, that is an ancillary inspection that we offer. Detached structures, that could be a barn, a shed, a detached garage, and ADUs or other units, multi properties that have more than one house or maybe have a small house on it. Typically, our standard inspections, and I forgot to put on here, is we have single family home, condo and townhome, mobile homes, and then or modular homes, and also we do multi-unit, so duplex, triplex, fourplex, and we've even done some apartment, small apartment complexes. And before I forget, because I don't think I have a separate slide on it, when we come to all these different types of inspections that we do have a standard price list. We just recently updated that because we had single family homes. If you would call and a home is 1,500 square feet or smaller, we had a particular price for that. we recently, as of this month, updated our price list. So now if the home is 1,200 square feet or smaller, there is a lower price for that size home. And then 1,200 to 1,500, then 1,500 to 17, or however it goes, there's a range that goes up a few dollars each range. But what we found a lot of time was we were ending up discounting that 1,500 square foot price anyway, because, you know, if you have 1,000 square home, it's 1,000 square foot home, it's you know, it's a 500 square foot difference, you know. So we found out we were discounting it anyway, just to be fair, and so we might as well put that in writing, which is what we did. We have a flat fee for condos and townhomes. So those are always the same price, regardless of how many stories, whether it has a crawl space, square footage, that sort of thing. Flat fee for mobile or modular homes. And then also a flat fee for duplexes, you know, multi duplex, triplex, and fourplexes. And on top of that, I want to make sure I mention that we do offer a 10% discount from our list prices for agents. So that's going to benefit you as well, especially if you can tell your client, well, you know, I got you a 10% discount on this inspection, or if you're paying for the inspection and you get a little discount as well. This is really a slide for sellers, but if you are working with a seller, you can really help them kind of remember some of this, of how to prepare for an inspection. Obviously, you want them to be aware of the date and the time of the inspection and approximately how long it would take, which would normally be, you know, 2 hours, give or take. We have had some instances where inspectors go to the home and the family is having breakfast in the kitchen, somebody's in the shower. I mean, obviously, they either didn't get the information that the inspector was coming, or they didn't care. Now, I'm not putting that on the agents. I'm just saying that we try to keep everybody in the loop, and we know that you can help us keep everybody in the loop. And I do see a question here, so I'm going to pause. Joan, you have a question? Did I have you muted? I don't think I have you muted. Well, Joan, interrupt me if you need to. I shouldn't have you guys on mute. Okay, let me know if you have a question, and I will try to keep an eye out for those. So also with sellers, we ask them to make sure that certain spaces are accessible. For example, the garage. We don't expect you to take everything out of your garage if you're using it for storage. But, you know, if you could take the vehicles out, that helps. Hatches that might go to the crawl space or the attic, a lot of times those are locked or just kind of inaccessible. Maybe they're in a closet and there's a bunch of stuff in the closet. We cannot remove that stuff. We are not allowed to remove anything like that to get to the hatch. Water heaters, sometimes there's just some clutter around those. Ovens, sometimes people keep things inside their ovens, and the inspector is not allowed to even take out that casserole dish to turn on the oven, so that won't be inspected. And sinks. A lot of times, you know, obviously one of the areas we're looking at is sinks in their kitchen cupboards and sinks in the bathroom. And of course, everybody keeps stuff there. So if you can have them clear out that stuff, that really helps us get a clear view of what's going on under the sink with the plumbing. This is not such a big deal anymore, but a lot of times the vacant houses may not have the utilities on. We just always like to remind people we are not allowed to turn on or turn off main shutoffs for utilities, either electricity or gas or water. Pets, we love pets. We don't want anybody to get hurt though. So if you can have the pets outside the home or put away. I don't think it was one of my inspectors, but I do remember an inspector at one point saying that they walked into a bathroom and there was a rather large snake in the bathtub. So that was a bathroom that did not get inspected on that trip. Social distancing and mask, again, not such a thing anymore, thankfully. But we can do that. We do obviously respect social distancing and masks as well. We should all have masks if with us when we're inspecting, and if somebody wants us to wear one, that makes perfect sense. And then obviously, if you need to reschedule, Sometimes things come up last minute. We appreciate all the notice we can get, but we don't charge a rescheduling fee. As far as what things we may or may not be able, what things we may not be able to get to during the inspection, if the roof looks like this in this photo, we're not going to be walking on that roof. It's just too dangerous. That would be a height or a slope limitation for us. We will inspect the roof either from the ground with binoculars or from the eaves with putting a ladder up there. If we can do that without damaging, the roof or the gutters. I know a lot of inspectors nowadays have drones, which are excellent for roof inspections and just whole property inspections. We do not typically use those because there are a lot of training and restrictions associated with those. How close you could be to an airport and that sort of thing. And honestly, it's just a little bit too much for us to take on right now. But I do think that drone inspections are going to be the way of the future, especially for roof inspections. If we can't get into the attic or crawl space, like we physically can't fit because it's really tiny, or we've had cases where the crawl space was blocked by pipes, we're going to do the best we can from the entrance, but we're going to say that on the report. It was inspected from the entrance. We weren't able to go in there. There also might be cases if it's like super, super hot, which I don't think it really gets in our areas, but if it's, 120 degrees in the attic and the inspector doesn't feel like they can inspect safely, they're going to decline to go up there and hang out, again, we can't move items. So if the crawl space hatches in a closet and there's a bunch of stuff in there, or even just some clothes in there, we can't get to it. We can't get to that crawl space on that trip. Can't turn on the water, gas, or electric. We don't do pest inspection. This one's so tricky, and I always like to mention that California is so strict on who can be a pest inspector and not representing yourself as a pest inspector if you're not, which we are not, that what I typically recommend to the inspectors is if they see something that looks like this person should get a termite inspection, which most people do anyway in our areas, or hey, this person should have somebody come look at the attic for pests. They say that verbally just so that, to the right people so that we don't get in trouble for, and it's silly. I think it's silly if we find something that looks like droppings or obviously termite, we should be able to report that even though we're not pest inspectors, but California gets really weird about it. So we will hopefully state that verbally. Also, this is a 90-minute to 3-hour inspection. Again, readily visible and accessible items are what we're inspecting. It's not like, and again, the limitations on the agreement will spell out, that type of limitation. So refer to the inspection agreement, and we basically follow the ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors Standard of Practice. If you ever read that, it's pretty eye-opening. It breaks it down very simply into inspectors can or should blah, 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 and inspectors are not expected to or shouldn't blah, blah, blah. Makes it very clear the realm of the home inspector. On a HouseMaste report, probably a bit different than how other home inspection companies do this, but we basically have 3 ratings for any element that we inspect. It's going to be satisfactory, which means that's our highest rating. It's fine. It was functional at the time of inspection. It's not really super old. It's fine. Fair is it's functional, but maybe it's like, a water heater that's, 12 years old and, you may need to replace it in the future. We're going to rate that fair, but it was functional at the time of the inspection. Poor requires immediate repair or remedial work. And that's also when we're going to recommend somebody else come in and take a look. Or let's say a roof looks older than the design life, a shingle roof will typically be a 15 to 20-year design life. Maybe this is a 30-year-old roof. It looks a little wavy. There's no shingles missing or anything like that, but we're going to recommend that a roofing specialist comes in and gives a more detailed evaluation. Not inspected. We couldn't get to that crawl space or that attic or test the oven or those things we talked about. Not applicable. We typically use this because we'll just take off that element, not include on the report. But sometimes I just had one the other day that was it was a really older home, like 100 years plus old, and there were some areas where you would expect to have outlets, let's say in the kitchen or the bathroom, and there weren't outlets. But instead of rating that poor for not having outlets, I mean, given the time it was built, it's just not applicable. We want to let people know that, hey, there's not outlets here, but we couldn't inspect them. It's kind of a subtle way of telling the buyer, hey, just note that if you go to plug in your hairdryer, there's no place to plug it in. But again, given the time that the house was built, that's not really too surprising. If we rate something fair or poor, we should have a comment with it at all times that explains what we saw, why there's a concern about what we saw, and what the recommended action is, either repair or further evaluation by a professional in that area. Questions? We're almost done. We're at 12:15. I think we're going to wrap up right on time. So again, please interrupt me if you have a question. I'm not going to play this. It's a cute little video that shows, especially for buyers, some of the things that I'm going to just go through and talk about as the HouseMaster advantage. This is for both buyers and sellers. We have a limited repair reimbursement guarantee. So if there was something that we rated satisfactory on the report, and it turns out that it was not satisfactory, up to 90 days from closing or 120 days from inspection, they can come back to us. And, obviously, depending on the circumstances, we'll have to dig into what the issue was and whether or not we should have found it. Basically, you can do a reimbursement for up to $1,500 to cover repair or replacement of that item. The HouseMaster Cloud I mentioned is where you go to get your reports. It's a portal that's really designed for the home buyers and the home sellers, because in addition to getting the report, there's a lot of other tools in there for them. There's a repair list, which makes it really easy to go through the report for you or them and kind of just create a list. This is what I want to follow up on, and share that list with somebody. There's a home improvement or a repair estimate, repair cost estimate tool, which honestly is not the best, but it's something. The data is based on Home Advisor data for the region, based on zip code. And let's say if you needed to know how much it costs to replace the windows in your house, you could go in there and look up, replace windows, and it would give you a range of costs that that people have typically paid for replacing the windows. The reason I think it could be better is because a lot of times you can't find the exact thing that you're looking for, so the data set is limited. But it is helpful. It's also a self-serve tool, so that is something that you, if you are very nice, would do for your client, or that you would ask the client to do themselves. We have done it on occasion for people, but it's really it's not something we would typically do, that because it's designed to be self-serve. For homeowners, they can track maintenance tasks and schedule reminders and that sort of thing. You can save documents related to the home. You can even save the room sizes, paint colors, that sort of thing. When it was designed, it was designed to be sort of a portal for homeowners to keep track of a lot of the information related to their home. And outside of the cloud, if you can get a PDF of the report once you go into the cloud. You can PDF it, you can share it with people directly. If you really, really, really don't want to use the cloud and don't want another login, I certainly understand, especially as a busy agent. We're always happy to PDF, send you a PDF of the report. So just ask us at the office and we'll do that for you. Again, so here's some of the things I went through: the repair list generator. This one, like I said, is actually pretty cool. You can pick out exactly what you want. I want to, yes, this thing about the chimney, I want to follow up on that with the seller, or I want to make sure I check into that further, that sort of thing. It's pretty helpful. Here's the repair estimate tool. Like I said, it gives you a range, low, average, and high of the type of project. For this example, roof replacement with asphalt shingles. One thing about the cloud that I don't think a lot of agents realize is you can actually put your agent information in your login. So you can have a nice little headshot, you can have your name, your phone number, your email, all that, so that every time your client goes to review the report or goes to look in the cloud for some reason, it will have your information. So that's just a little bonus. If you're not sure how to do it, if you can't figure out how to do it on your login, just let us know and we can help you do that. This is a pretty cool service, I think. I think it works a little better for buyers than sellers, to be honest, but the HouseMaster Connects team will call. If we have a phone number for the client, they will call them about a few days to a week after the inspection, and they are legit, and they will offer to help the person set up utilities at their new home. So that's why I think it works a little better for buyers, because they're going to call and say, hey, I see that you're moving to, blah, blah, blah address. And did you want help setting up your electricity, your water, your trash, your cable service, that sort of thing? They could choose whichever ones they want help with. And it actually really does save a lot of time. If anybody's ever moved and had to set up these new things, it's not fun. So having somebody else help with that, it's absolutely free. It's only for HouseMaster customers. Another benefit for HouseMaster customers is there are coupons inside the HouseMaster cloud that they can access. And there are just coupons for things you might need, everything from pizza for moving day to moving vans, that sort of thing, paint, appliances, that sort of thing. So those do change, rotate the offers that are available. But it is something, again, is just free to HouseMaster customers as part of the HouseMaster cloud. One thing that we've recently started offering at our office is there's a company called WTG, or Western Technologies Group, and they do really nice flood zone determination reports, flood certs. They're only $30. You can order them with or without a home inspection. So if somebody really wants to know if their home is in a flood risk or flood zone, and that they need flood insurance, that is the way to tell. You can get this information free from a lot of sources from the county, or go directly. I think you can probably go directly to FEMA. These are based on FEMA maps, so it puts it in a nice package for the client, nice report. They are available after the fact. So the example they gave me is, if you're buying a home and you find out, a week before you're supposed to close, that the insurance company says your home is in a high risk flood zone and they want you to have flood insurance, you can basically verify that with this company because they're going to look at the actual flood maps. And they said a lot of times the insurance company has the wrong information, or a lot of times even the county or somebody that you're getting the information from, it's not updated. And so they have been able to help people, avoid unnecessary insurance. But basically they will go to bat for you. I mean, they're not lawyers, but they will go to bat for you and say, hey, based on our data, this is not an area that needs flood insurance. So I don't know. It's been on my mind a lot lately with all of the rain, but I also understand it's one of those things that people don't really think about until it happens, kind of like earthquake insurance. So I just want to let you know that it's a service there. You just call us up, give us the address, and we'll order that report for you. Any questions? I don't know if I have more. I haven't looked at this for a while. Yep.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, Deborah. This is Steve. Yeah. Thank
Hi.
you for the presentation. Yeah.
Sure.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Just got a quick question on the cross-base inspection.
Yes.
So I'm from Texas, so that cross-base is kind of new to me.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of issue do you usually encounter in the cross-base inspection? Something like is drainage could be a potential issue because we have so much rain lately, or is a cross-base supposed to drain? Or what kind of stuff, do you inspect? Or what kind of safety? Is that a confined space inspection, or what do you have to do to be able to do a good job for the inspector to get in there? So could you kind of elaborate more on
Sure.
that? Maybe what kind of problem potentially the buyer need to be aware of? Yeah.
Sure, no problem. I agree with you. I'm from Colorado, and a lot of us basements there, but so crawl spaces are usually an unfinished space, so different from a basement. They're not, lined out with concrete and all that. They're usually dirt, kind of icky places to go in. But there are certain things the inspectors look for. One, exactly what you said, they're going to be looking for any areas where water could come in. Or sometimes we actually had one the other day that they had a foot of standing water under a home. And they wouldn't have really known that until they just happened to be doing a home inspection with us. So yes, exactly with all the rain, but even in general, there could be water draining into the foundation and you wouldn't know it because nobody ever goes down there. Well, they're going to be looking for standing water, areas where water could enter, or areas where it looks like water has entered. Because even though most of the crawl space is dirt, the walls are usually concrete, and there's actually deposits that the water will leave behind that can tell you, hey, at some point, this crawl space had water in it. Then they're looking at, there should be certain things, a vapor barrier, which is usually a plastic barrier that's put down. I can't remember if it's over or under the insulation, but there's usually insulation that should be down there. A vapor barrier that has to do with just keeping yucky things from going up into the house, radon gas and all that. Also, insulation helps keep the house warm. And then finally, they're looking at the actual crawl space. A lot of times you'll hear it called pier and beam or post foundation. So it's literally an empty space with dirt, and there are usually concrete pillars that a wood beam is placed on, and that's what the house is sitting on. So they're going to be making sure that none of that is deteriorated beyond what you would expect for the age of that house. Again, we're not foundation specialists, but you can usually tell. And they're pretty usually liberal too. Like, obviously this post is damaged, they're going to call that out, or there could be, mold. That's one of the things we can't really say is mold, but we could say some kind of growth, that could affect the integrity of that post. Anything leaning, cracked, that sort of thing. So those are the three main things we're looking at: is the foundation, the water penetration, ventilation. Also should be some ventilation. One of the most common occurrences is that, there's a ventilation. That's usually how you can tell a house has a crawl space, because there's those little tiny windows kind of in the foundation wall, and they should have screens on them so that they ventilate, but so that animals can't get in. So that's a common occurrence, is there's a hole in the screen, that sort of thing.
I see. Yeah. And I know that some of the some of the utility, like water line or electrical conduit, maybe even the AC duct, they all go through the crawl space, right? And
yes,
that would kind of be visually inspected by the inspector as well, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep, I did forget that one, but you're right. Any sort of wiring, that sort of thing, that is, not affixed properly or is damaged. Sometimes it does make it kind of difficult to see the crawl space, same as the attic, if there's a lot of ducts and things like that going in there. But yeah, they're looking at that as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay.
Awesome. Great question. Any other questions? Well, I do appreciate you having me today, and our website is there on the screen. I'll also make sure I follow up with Stella with this information. On the website, you can find just kind of more general information about what we covered today, as well as our list of areas that we do inspect from this office. We do have other HouseMaste offices in California, even very close to us. So if you call us, we don't service that location, we'll try to refer you to somebody who does. Again, they're going to be a different office, but they're going to have the same training, the same system, and that sort of thing. See the chat. Yep, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, that's our general, and then we also have. Let me see here. Go back to the chat. Our direct website. Oops. I always forget about that chat. nwcal.housemaster.com will go to our. I spelled it wrong. My goodness. master.com will go directly to our website. Thank you. We do not have prices on the website, but like I said, you can call us. We don't like to publish those obviously for competitors, but we're happy to share with you. And, we do have the 10% discount, and sometimes, we might have a special or something like that going on. So that's why we just like to have you call and go from there. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day and a good weekend.
You too. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.